A rejected pregnancy. She was only 17 when her world crumbled. One sweet word from a smooth-talking boy and her dreams scattered like broken calabash. Her name was Adaeze. Her only crime was to love with her whole heart. But in a land where a girl's worth is measured by her purity and a father's pride is more important than his daughter's tears, Adaeze became a curse, just because she got pregnant. Thrown out like dirty cloth, shamed before strangers, beaten by her father, rejected by her mother, and abandoned by the one who put her in that condition, Adaeze carried more than just a baby in her belly. She carried pain, disgrace, and a secret that would shake the entire village to its roots. This is African Tales by Ijele. Like, share and subscribe. Adaeze was the pride of her family. Beautiful, smart, respectful. Every villager admired her. Her father, Pa Adaeze, always walked with shoulders high because of her. She had passed her WAEC in one sitting and was preparing to travel to the city for university, sponsored by a relative. But when Emeka arrived from the city, everything changed. He was tall, light-skinned, and smelled like money. With city clothes, tinted glasses, and a shiny iPhone, he became the center of attention in the village. Emeka was the cousin of the village counselor, and he was in town to relax and find peace. But Emeka had his eyes on Adaeze from the moment he stepped out of the Lexus. At first, Adaeze paid no attention. She was a well-trained girl. But Emeka was persistent. He brought her gifts, perfume, shoes, and shawarma from town. He told her she was different. Special. That he would take her to the city. Make her a queen. She resisted. Until the day she saw her father slap her mother during an argument about money. That was the crack in her strength. She ran into the forest that evening, crying. Emeka found her there, alone and vulnerable. He told her she deserved better. He held her while she cried. Whispered that he loved her. That he would take her far from this place. Then he kissed her. That night, everything happened. And Adaeze gave in. She thought it was love. She didn't know it was a setup. She didn't know that Emeka had made a bet with his friends in the city, that he could break the village angel. And when she missed her period the next month, Emeka had already returned to Lagos. No number. No message. No goodbye. Just silence. And a growing fear in her belly. The pregnancy test was positive. Adaeze couldn't speak for 2 whole days. She stared at the wall like a ghost. When her mother found the test kit hidden in her clothes, she screamed so loudly that neighbors ran to the compound. Pregnant? Pa Adaze's voice shook like thunder. Under my roof? He dragged her outside. Stripped her of dignity. Neighbors gathered. He beat her with his belt. Not once. Not twice. But over and over until blood ran down her legs. Her mother wept bitterly. But no one dared stop Pa Adaeze. He was a former soldier. His pride had been shattered. His daughter had brought him shame. The news spread like wildfire. The girl everyone praised had become the village disgrace. Church elders called it a spirit of Jezebel. The women's group refused to let her attend meetings. Some girls laughed behind her back. Others avoided her like a curse. Adaeze tried to explain. That she thought Emeka loved her. That he promised marriage. That it wasn't just about sex. That it was real to her. But nobody listened. Not even her mother. I warned you, her mother whispered. Now you must carry your cross. 3 days later, her father threw her clothes into a black nylon bag. You're no longer my daughter, he said. Go and look for the man who got you pregnant. With tears in her eyes and her slippers in her hands, Adaeze walked away from the only home she'd ever known. She didn't know where she was going. She just walked. The sun was hot. Her stomach growled. Her feet ached. But she kept walking. The road from Umudim village to the expressway was long and dusty. No cars stopped. No one cared to ask why a pregnant girl was walking alone. By evening, she reached a small town market. She sat near a pepper seller, clutching her bag. Her face was swollen from crying. A little boy gave her water. She drank, thanking him. That night, she slept beside a kiosk. Mosquitoes bit her. Hunger tore at her belly. Her body shivered. But she was too tired to care. Morning came. Adaeze begged a driver to take her to the city. She lied that her uncle was waiting for her. The man looked at her pitifully and agreed to help. He dropped her in Onitsha. Big city. Crowded. Fast. Adaeze wandered around aimlessly until she found an abandoned school building. That became her shelter. She lived on pure water, biscuits, and God's mercy. And one night, her body gave up. She collapsed near a gutter. People walked past. Ignored her. Until a soft voice said, "My daughter, get up." Adaeze looked up and saw a woman with tribal marks and a kind smile. "My name is Mama Ebra," the woman said. "Come with me. You cannot die here." Adaeze followed Mama Ebra slowly, each step like a stab of shame. Her feet were swollen. Her lips cracked. Her clothes torn and dusty. But the old woman held her with firm arms, arms strong like yam tendrils, yet gentle like mother's love. They entered a narrow street near a Kanja market, where shops lined both sides like prison walls. Children played in the dirt. Women shouted prices of tomatoes and okra. The air smelled of kerosene smoke, fried fish, and human sweat. Mama Ebra lived in a one-room apartment behind a mechanic workshop. A broken bench sat outside. The door was patched with old cement bags. The roof leaked in places. But to Adaeze, it was a palace. Inside the room, there was only one old mattress, a curtain separating a bucket and basin area, and a faded calendar of 1998 hanging on the wall. A mosquito net dangled from the ceiling like a ghost. "Lie down," Mama Ebra said. "Let me get you water and food." Adaeze collapsed on the bed. Her body felt like melting metal. She didn't ask questions. She didn't even speak. Her only sound was the soft sob that came from deep in her chest. That night, after eating the hot akamu and fried yam Mama Ebra brought, Adaeze slept without fear for the first time in weeks. The days passed. Adaeze told Mama Ebra everything, about the pregnancy, the betrayal, her father's rage, the shame. The old woman didn't judge her. She only listened and sighed deeply. "I was once like you," Mama Ebra said one night. "Abandoned. Pregnant. Alone. But I survived. And you will too." Those words became Adaeze's lifeline. Soon, Mama Ebra started taking her to her petty shop where she sold second-hand clothes. Adaeze helped fold the clothes and learned how to talk to customers. She began to smile again, though the sadness in her eyes never left. But the city was no friend. One day, as she returned from fetching water, a man in a black jeep stopped beside her. He rolled down the glass. He looked rich. Gold chain, iPhone, low-cut beard. "You fine oh," he said. "Where you dey go?" Adaeze ignored him. "Come now, make I give you small change. Your condition need am." The insult stung like pepper in her chest. She didn't reply. Just walked faster. He hissed and drove off. That night, she cried into her pillow. "God, why me? What did I do to deserve this?" There was no answer. Only the sound of rats scratching in the corner, and the far-off noise of gospel songs from a nearby church. One morning, Adaeze woke up with sharp pain under her belly. She screamed. Mama Ebra rushed to her side. Is it time? Are you in labor? No, no. I don't know, Adaeze sobbed. She was 6 months gone. Her body had started changing. Her legs were swollen. Her back hurt constantly. Sometimes, she couldn't sleep from the nightmares. Other times, she couldn't even eat. Mama Ebra rubbed herbal ointment on her waist and gave her boiled bitter leaf water. You need strength, she said. City life is not for the weak. As days passed, Adaeze started noticing something strange. Whenever she walked past a certain shop in the market, a woman with blue eyeshadow and sharp red lips would always stare at her from behind the curtain. One day, the woman called her. You, she said. You be Mama Ebra Pekin? No, Ma, Adaeze replied. I stay with her. The woman scoffed. Be careful with that woman. Her past days smell past dead goat. Adaeze blinked. What do you mean? The woman just hissed and turned away. Later that day, Adaeze asked Mama Ebra what the woman meant. The old woman just laughed. People always talk. Let them. But Adaeze could see the flicker of fear in her eyes. That night, Adaeze had a dream. She saw herself standing in a bush path. Her belly was huge. The sky was dark. And behind her, someone followed her, barefoot, breathing heavily. She turned. It was her father. With a cutlass. She screamed. And woke up soaked in sweat. Her pregnancy began to trouble her more. Some days, she felt sharp movements in her womb. Too sharp. As if the child was restless. Angry. One Sunday, while helping Mama Ebra in the shop, she collapsed. People gathered. She's dying, oh. Na bel day worry her. Mama Ebra pushed through the crowd and carried her back home. They didn't go to hospital. There was no money. Instead, Mama Ebra gave her a black soap to bathe with, and tied a red thread around her waist. Don't remove it, she warned. Even if it itches you. That night, Adaeze lay on the bed, one hand on her stomach. Who are you? She whispered to the baby inside her. Why do I feel like you're more than just a child? 2 weeks passed. Adaeze's strength returned. But the city grew more dangerous. One afternoon, while walking home, 2 boys snatched her bag and ran off. She fell to the ground, screaming. People gathered, but no one chased them. That night, she bled slightly. Mama Ebra used native herbs and prayed over her. You must survive, she whispered. Your child is a destiny child. That was the first time Adaeze heard that phrase. Destiny child? But Mama Ebra didn't explain. A week later, something strange happened. A woman in a white car pulled over near the market. She wore glasses, a suit, and carried a bag of fruits. Excuse me, she said to Adaeze. You look familiar. Were you in Umudim village before? Adaeze froze. Yes, she said. Why? I know your father. Adaeze. He was my classmate in secondary school. Adaeze didn't speak. I'm Kayamaka, the woman said. I work with a women's foundation in Enugu. We help girls like you. She handed Adaeze a card. If you ever feel unsafe, call me. Adaeze held the card like gold. That night, she told Mama Ebra everything. The old woman didn't look pleased. Be careful, she said. Not every outstretched hand is genuine. But Adaeze felt something different. Hope. For the first time since her disgrace, someone called her by name, and didn't look at her with pity or judgment. But that night, as she slept, she heard a knock on the door. It was soft at first. Then louder. Then a voice whispered, Adaeze, come out. She looked at Mama Ebra. The old woman was still, like stone. Adaeze crept to the door, heart pounding. "Who is there?" No answer. Just the sound of retreating footsteps. And a red feather lying at the doorstep. The rain started around 11:45 p.m. Not the gentle type. It poured like a broken drum, thunder cracking, lightning dancing in the sky like angry spirits. Adaeze sat on the mattress, sweating. Her stomach was hard. Her breath came in short, sharp gasps. Her wrapper was soaked with fear, and her fingers clawed at the wall. It was time. She screamed. Ma Ebra. It's coming. It's coming. The old woman jumped up and ran to her. Breathe, she shouted. Adaeze breathed slowly. I can't, Adaeze wailed. It's tearing me. Mama, I'm dying. The power went off. Darkness swallowed the room. Only a small torchlight in Mama Ebra's hand gave any hope. There was no hospital. No nurse. No midwife. Just a poor room, a young girl, and a baby forcing its way into the world. Mama Ebra tied a scarf around her waist and knelt by Adaeze. Push, my daughter. Push. Outside, the rain intensified. The roof began to leak. Water dropped onto the floor. Rats scurried. Thunder struck. And then a loud knock came at the door. Bang. 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 Adaeze, open. We know you're in there. Voices. Men's voices. Open or we burn the door down. Adaeze screamed again, not just from pain now, but terror. Mama Ebra shouted, Who are you? This is a sick girl. Go away. But they kept knocking. Bring the girl out. She has what doesn't belong to her. Lightning flashed again. And then suddenly, silence. The knocking stopped. When Mama Ebra opened the door moments later, no one was there. Only a note, soaked in rain, lay on the floor. It read, The child she carries is not ordinary. We are watching. Chills crawled down Adaeze's spine. But there was no time to think. The baby was coming. She pushed with every drop of strength. She screamed as blood gushed out of her. And then a cry. A loud, deep, powerful cry. The kind of cry that felt like thunder had entered the earth through the lungs of a baby. The child was born. A boy. But when Mama Ebra cleaned the baby and lifted him, she froze. The child had a strange birthmark on his chest, a crescent moon surrounded by 3 dots. Adaeze was too weak to notice. She passed out. And outside, the rain stopped. Suddenly. Completely. Like the sky itself was watching. Morning broke. Adaeze woke to the smell of hot ogi and roasted plantain. She sat up slowly, her stomach now flat but tender. Her chest was heavy, and her body ached all over. Then she remembered. The baby. Where is he? She asked weakly. Mama Ebra smiled and handed her the child, now wrapped in white cloth. Adaeze held him. The baby looked at her with wide eyes. As if he understood everything. He's beautiful, she whispered. So small. Then she looked closer. And froze. The baby's ears, the shape of his nose, the little lines on his forehead. He looked exactly like Emeka. Her heart stopped for a moment. The man who betrayed her. The man who vanished. The man who ruined her life, had returned in this child's face. Tears spilled down her cheeks. But Mama Ebra had a strange expression. You see it too? She asked. Yes, Adaeze whispered. He looks just like his father. Mama Ebra sat down and sighed. Adaeze, I need to tell you something. Adaeze looked at her. Tell me what? The old woman looked away. Before the birth, I saw something in my dream. A group of men, dressed in black, standing around a river. And one of them said, when the bloodline returns, the debt must be paid. Adaeze frowned. What does that mean? I don't know yet, Mama Ebra said. But this child, he carries a heavy spirit. He's not ordinary. Adaeze shook her head. No. Don't say that. He's just a baby. My baby. Yes, but the world sees more than what you see. 3 days later, Adaeze tried to register the baby at a small health center. They asked for the father's name. She hesitated. She almost lied. Then she wrote it, Emeka Okoro. The nurse looked up. From Lagos? Yes, Adaeze replied. The nurse looked shocked. You mean the one that just died? Adaeze's hand dropped the pen. Died? Yes, the nurse replied. There was a car accident on the 3rd mainland bridge. His picture was in the newspaper last week. They said he was running from cultists. The room began to spin. Adaeze stood up. She couldn't breathe. She walked out into the sun, but all she saw was darkness. Emeka was dead. And her son had just been born. On the same night. 2 weeks passed. Adaeze's body healed slowly, but her mind did not. Every time she looked at her baby, she saw Emeka's eyes. And the more she remembered what the nurse said, the more her heart raced. She wanted answers. She needed them. She called the woman who gave her the card, Kayamaka, the social worker. Kayamaka came 2 days later in a silver Toyota and brought baby clothes, food supplies, and a calm smile. You're strong, she said. Many girls in your position would have given up. Thank you, Adaeze said. But I need help. They sat under a mango tree, while Mama Ebra went to the market. I need to find out more about Emeka, Adaeze said. Why did he run? Why was he killed? Kayamaka looked at her carefully. You may not like what you find, Adaeze. I don't care. I need the truth. Kayamaka nodded. I know someone in Lagos who used to work with Emeka. Let me reach out. That night, Mama Ebra confronted Adaeze. You called that woman again? Yes, Mama. I need to know the truth. Mama Ebra looked troubled. I've kept many things from you, because I wanted to protect you. But if you start digging, be ready to find what should have stayed buried. The next day, Kayamaka returned. With files. And photographs. And a manila envelope marked, Confidential, Oath Brotherhood, 7 Black Snakes. She handed it to Adaeze. And the truth started to leak out like poison. Emeka had been involved in a dark society. He wasn't just a flirt from the city. He was a blood initiate, a cultist. The same cult that had killed others before for betrayal. He made a blood promise before he left Lagos. That his seed would never walk free if he ever broke their code. But Emeka broke the code. He used the money he was supposed to return to the group to finance a lavish lifestyle. The Brotherhood came after him. He died. But the oath did not. The oath said, any blood born from betrayal shall be returned, or it shall bring doom upon the land. Adaeze's hands shook as she read it. Her baby was the blood they were referring to. Her son. Born of betrayal. A product of an unfulfilled oath. She looked at the baby, sleeping peacefully. And for the first time since his birth, she felt fear. Not for herself. But for him. And in the dark corner of the room, the red feather appeared again. The sky over Umudim was not smiling. Clouds hung heavy like they were soaked in secrets. The birds that once sang from the mango trees had gone silent. Even the goats bleated with unease. It had been almost a year since Adaeze left. Now she was back, carrying her baby boy, and carrying something else that no one could see. Whispers followed her like shadows. Is that not Adaeze's daughter? The one that got pregnant? She had the boldness to come back. Where's the father of the child? But Adaeze walked with her head high. Not because she was proud, but because she had nothing else left. Her mother stood at the entrance of their compound, wearing the same faded wrapper she had worn the day Adaeze was chased away. Her hands trembled when she saw her daughter. "Mama," Adaeze said. The woman burst into tears. She ran to Adaeze and held her tightly. "My daughter, my Adaeze." But Pa Adaeze? He didn't come out. He was inside. Silent. Watching. That night, while Adaeze and her baby slept in a small hut behind the house, something strange happened. A dog began to bark violently around midnight. Then, chickens screamed. Then silence. When they woke up the next morning, the compound was filled with feathers. Dead chickens lay scattered. Their necks twisted. Their eyes wide. No blood. Just death. And in the center of the yard, was a red feather. The strange deaths did not stop. By the second week of Adaeze's return, 9 goats were found dead across the village. By the third week, a toddler went missing near the stream. By the fourth week, 5 pregnant women in the village suffered miscarriages. Fear gripped the land like a python. The villagers called for an emergency akwu umana, a sacred meeting. The elders gathered under the irako tree. Chief Ozoka, the oldest, spoke first. Something dark has returned to this land. And it came with someone. Another elder whispered, it started when Adaeze's daughter came back. Silence. Then nods. Then murmurs. Pa Adaeze stood, face pale. My daughter came back quietly. She only came with a child. Not just any child, one of the women said. That child does not blink. That child stares like a spirit. Another man added, my son saw the baby's shadow, it moved in a different direction from his body. Gasps. That child is not ordinary, the herbalist said. I've seen this before. Many years ago. What should we do? A young man asked. The room was silent until an old woman spoke. Her voice like dry leaves. We must go to the shrine of Ogbujiri, the priestess of the river. She will speak truth. The shrine of Ogbujiri was feared by all. Deep in the heart of Ala-Udin forest, where no man dared walk alone, stood a mud temple surrounded by red trees and burning incense. Only a few had ever seen Ogbujiri and returned the same. She was ancient. Blind. Covered in white chalk. And her voice could summon thunder. The villagers prepared sacrifices, a white cock, 7 coconuts, and palm oil. A small group, including Adaeze, Pa Adaeze, and the herbalist, journeyed to the shrine. The path was eerie. Leaves didn't rustle. No wind blew. Even the crickets stayed silent. When they reached the shrine, a thunderclap welcomed them. Then came a voice from inside. Why have you brought the child of blood to my gates? They entered slowly. And there she sat, Ogbujiri, with white hair that touched the floor and eyes clouded like morning fog. She raised her head and sniffed the air. The blood of betrayal. The seed of an unfulfilled oath. The shadow of vengeance lies in this boy. Adaeze clutched her baby tighter. Tears fell from her eyes. What does it mean? She asked. What is my child's sin? Ogbujiri's voice shook the walls. Long ago, a man offered his soul to gain power. But he broke the vow. Now, the spirits come not for the man, but his blood. His firstborn. Your child. No, Adaeze cried. You must protect him, Ogbujiri said. He carries more than pain. He carries fire. If he falls into the wrong hands, the land will burn. The baby began to cry. Loudly. The shrine shook. Ogbujiri began to chant. The fire rose high. A gust of wind burst through the shrine. And when everything calmed, the red feather was burning, floating, and turning to ash. The village remained uneasy. The air hung like a warning. Children no longer played freely. Women no longer fetched water after dusk. Every home whispered the same question. What is this child? Adaeze became isolated. No one came near her hut anymore. When she walked past, people made the sign of the cross or spat. Even her own mother began to act strange, sleeping in the main house and avoiding the baby. Only Pa Adaeze remained cold and silent. He neither spoke to Adaeze nor looked at the child. But one night, as Adaeze stepped out to urinate, she heard something in his room. A sound. A whisper. A name. Ezen. She froze. That was her late grandmother's name. The one who died mysteriously 15 years ago. Adaeze waited until he slept and crept into the house. She tiptoed into the old storage room, the one no one was allowed to enter. She pushed it open. Dust. Cobwebs. Darkness. Then, she saw it. An old wooden box covered in palm fronds and sealed with red string. She opened it. Inside, letters, photographs, and a brown leather diary. She lit a candle and began to read. Year 1993. Today I met with the Brotherhood of Black Harvest. They promised me greatness. All I had to do was offer something precious. I gave them my first seed. Adaeze's hands shook. She flipped the pages. Year 1994. My wife thinks the baby died of fever. But I know the truth. The oath was sealed. The shrine accepted him. Her eyes widened. What baby? She kept reading. Year 2001. My daughter Adaeze is growing strong. They said she will never bear a son, unless the seal is broken. But how can I break what has already been sealed in blood? She must never carry life. If she does, the spirits will return to finish the debt. The candle shook in her hands. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Her own father had made a sacrifice. He had offered his first son to a cult. And now, her child was paying the price. She closed the diary slowly, and felt something behind her. She turned. Pa Adaeze was standing at the door. His eyes full of shock. And something darker, rage. You opened it? He asked in a low voice. Adaeze didn't reply. You opened it? He lunged forward. Adaeze screamed. But her mother came running, holding a lantern. She grabbed Adaeze and pulled her out of the room. Run, she cried. Run with your child before it's too late. Adaeze ran into the night. Her baby on her back. Her breath cutting through the darkness. She didn't stop until she reached the house of Mama Ijeoma, the old midwife who once helped women give birth by the river, before the church labeled her a witch. The door opened slowly. A pale face appeared. Who knocks at the gates of midnight? The voice asked. A mother, Adaeze said, weeping. A broken mother. The door opened fully. And there stood Mama Ijeoma, older, thinner, but her eyes still glowed with something beyond human. She let Adaeze in. Gave her warm water. Lit incense. Rubbed her feet. Then she held the baby. The moment her eyes met his, she gasped. This child, she whispered. He carries the mark of dual spirits. What does that mean? Adaeze asked. It means, he is both a gate and a sword. A sword? Mama Ijeole nodded. He can open what has been locked. He can destroy what has been hidden. But, if the gate opens in the wrong hands, the entire village may drown in darkness. Adaeze wept. I just want him to be safe. He can be, the old woman replied. But you must be willing to give something in return. Anything, Adaeze said. Then listen well, she said. There is a sacred tree in the forest of Umudim. Beneath it lies the bones of your father's first son. You must dig it out. You must place your child beside it for 1 hour, during the next blood moon. Isn't that dangerous? Mama Ijeole looked grave. Yes. But if you don't, the child's spirit will be hunted forever. Outside, thunder rolled. Inside, the child opened his eyes. And they glowed for a moment. Adaeze returned to her hut in secret. She waited until the blood moon. The village sky was blood red. She wrapped her child and set out for the forest of Umudim. But someone had followed her. Someone who had watched her every move since her return. Someone who knew the ritual, and wanted to stop it. That person was her mother. Not because she was evil. But because she believed Adaeze's child was the reason the land was dying. As Adaeze knelt by the tree, digging, her mother crept behind her. A stone in hand. A prayer on her lips. Forgive me, Adaeze. I must save the land. She raised the stone to strike. But a powerful force pushed her backward. She hit a tree and passed out. The baby began to cry, loudly, like a siren. And the ground beneath the tree cracked open. Adaeze watched in horror and awe as bones began to rise from the earth, glowing red. And a whisper filled the air. We are not finished. The debt is not yet paid. Adaeze collapse. Every year, the village of Umudim held the Ojinoku, Festival of Fire. It was a sacred week when the land was cleansed of evil, and the ancestors were honored with drumming, masquerades, and sacrifices. But this year, the fire felt different. The chief priest of the land, Dibia Akoli, came out of a 14-day isolation and made a terrifying announcement. This year's sacrifice must be different. The land demands more. There is a child among us whose presence angers the gods. Gasps echoed across the village. People already suspected it. They already whispered it. Now, the priest had confirmed it. And everyone knew who the child was. The town crier moved that evening from compound to compound. All mothers must present their children at the village square on the night of the cleansing. Any child who fails to appear shall be considered the one the gods reject. Adaeze heard the bell. Her heart froze. Mama Ijeole came to her hut that night and whispered urgently. You must leave. Tonight. But where will I go? Adaeze asked, clutching her baby. Into the hills of Uburaku. There is a hidden cave where the old ones once hid from slave raiders. Stay there for 7 nights. I will send word when it is safe. Adaeze packed a few things, wrapped her baby tightly, and fled under the cover of darkness. But her movements were not unseen. Someone watched her from the trees. While Adaeze hid in the cave, the festival of fire began. Masquerades filled the streets. Drums echoed from the forests. Fires were lit at every junction. Children were lined up in the village square, each blessed with white chalk. One by one, the priest moved past the children. Until he stopped. Where is the daughter of Adaeze? He asked. Where is her child? No one answered. Then came a voice from the crowd. She ran. She's hiding. It was her own uncle, Okadike, who once begged her for food when she lived in Mama Ebra's house. Now he stood, pointing with a mouth dripping hatred. The priest's eyes darkened. Then the judgment drum must be beaten. The crowd gasped. Not the judgment drum. It hadn't been played since the twin cleansing of 1965, when 2 infants were thrown into the Asamirai River for being born with teeth. Now it was returning. The villagers gathered around the sacred drum buried in the heart of the village square. 4 men pulled it from the ground. It was black, ancient, and tied with human hair. Dibia Akoli raised his staff. If the child is innocent, let silence follow. But if the child is cursed, let the spirit speak. He struck the drum. Boom. A wind blew. Boom. Birds fled from trees. Boom. The ground trembled. And then, a scream pierced the air, but not from the drum. From the hills of Aburaku. In the cave, Adaeze had just fed her baby and was rocking him to sleep. Suddenly, her chest tightened. Her ears rang. Her baby began to shake violently. Then, he opened his eyes. They were not brown. Not black. Not even white. They were glowing red. His tiny hands began to glow too. He cried, but it wasn't the cry of a child. It was the wail of 1,000 tortured spirits. Adaeze screamed in terror. The cave walls cracked. Rocks began to fall. She grabbed him and ran out just before the entire cave collapsed behind her. The moment she stepped into the moonlight, she heard a sound behind her. Footsteps. Many of them. Torches. Voices. They had come for her. Villagers. Led by her uncle and Dibia Akoli. There she is, they screamed. Grab the witch. Adaeze ran. Through bushes. Through thorns. She didn't care. She ran until her feet bled. But they caught her. They grabbed her by the wrapper, tore her blouse, and dragged her toward the river. Her child screamed in her arms. Give us the boy, one man shouted. No, she cried. A hand slapped her across the face. Blood flew from her mouth. They raised a machete. Give him or die with him. And then, the ground shook. The trees bent. The river began to boil. Everyone froze. The baby's eyes lit up like lightning. A voice filled the sky. Touch him and die. One man dared to raise his machete again. His body burst into flames. The villagers screamed and fled. The fire did not chase them. But the voice followed. This child is not yours to judge. He is the key. The last. The chosen. Harm him, and your bones will cry for 10 generations. The night went silent. Adaeze collapsed, still holding her child. And above her, the blood moon turned white for the first time in centuries. Pa Adaeze sat alone in his compound, the sound of the wind howling through the trees. The villagers had seen the fire that fell from the sky. They had seen a child command lightning without speaking. They had seen a machete-wielding man burst into flames. Now, they lived in fear. And they demanded answers. The elders gathered. They summoned Pa Adaeze. You brought this upon us, Chief Ozoka declared. You gave a child to spirits. And now that debt chases your bloodline. Shaking, Pa Adaeze stood. His face was pale. His eyes empty. He walked slowly to the center of the square and raised his hands. I was poor. I was mocked. I wanted greatness. I made a vow with the Black Brotherhood, and I gave them my son. I didn't know the spirits would wait for a second child, Adaeze's child, to finish what I started. I destroyed my own family for power I never lived to enjoy. He collapsed on his knees. I am sorry. But it was too late. A wind rushed through the village. The earth cracked. A voice echoed from the heavens. You fed the spirits blood. Now drink the same. Pa Adaeze began to cough. His eyes turned white. Blood poured from his mouth, and he fell. Lifeless. Years passed. Adaeze left Umudim and moved to the mountain town of Nsud. She raised her son alone. No man dared come near her again, not out of shame, but fear. Her son, now called Ikenna, grew into a quiet, wise, strange boy. He healed animals with a touch. He stopped rain with a whisper. He spoke to winds and knew things before they happened. At age 10, he told his mother, "Mama, I have to go. I have work to do." "Work?" Adaeze asked. "Yes. Ikenna is not just my name. It means father's strength. But not just your father, Mama. I was sent to fix what fathers like yours broke." He kissed her forehead, and walked into the forest barefoot. The birds followed. The trees bowed. And the river stopped flowing, for a moment, as he passed. He was never seen again. But every dry season in Nsud, a strange wind would pass through the village, cool, strong, and full of whispers. And people would say, "That's the boy born of fire. The one they rejected. The one the spirits couldn't touch. The child you reject today may carry the power that will save the land tomorrow. Don't curse a girl because she made a mistake, some wounds carry destinies within them. Power gotten through shortcuts will always come back for interest, sometimes, through your children. Every rejected soul is a silent doorway to something bigger, treat the broken with care. In the heart of rejection lies a hidden promise. And in every painful tear, a silent seed of power. What the world throws away, destiny may one day raise as a king." This was not just a story. This was a warning. This is African Tales by Ijele. Where pain walks into power, and the past never stays buried. Subscribe now, because the next story may just be your story.